When you have 4 new tires, every drive feels fresh. Right now, buy 3 Select tires and get 1 for just $1 during the GMC Certified Service Fresh Start Tire event. Visit gmc.com/service offers or see dealer for full details. At participating U.S. GM dealers only. Highest or equal value tire will be $1. Offer ends May 31st, 2026. Not available with other offers.
What's holding you back from becoming the person you want to be? What would happen if you chose to step outside your comfort zone and started challenging your limits? And why does your personal growth matter so much for good mental health? Well, in this episode, you'll discover practical ways to unleash your true potential in life. Ready to challenge yourself to grow? Then let's talk about taking charge of your personal growth. Hello, and welcome back to Let's Talk About Mental Health. I'm Jeremy Godwin, and thanks for joining me. If you're new here, I'm a counsellor and writer, and I focus on do-it-yourself mental health care. The stuff you can do to tackle issues and improve your mental well-being. I share practical tips based on quality research, plus my own experience with anxiety and depression. And you won't hear interviews or random opinions here, just simple tips that actually work. So, let's talk. Are you holding yourself back without even realizing it? It's incredibly easy to stick with what feels safe and familiar. But here's the problem with that. Your comfort zone might feel safe and cozy, but it's also where dreams go to stagnate. Growth, confidence, and real fulfillment don't come from playing it safe. They come from pushing yourself beyond what feels comfortable, even when it's scary. Like what I'm doing in this episode. Because depending on what platform you're on, you might have noticed that this week's episode gives you a choice between listening to the audio or watching me talking on video, and I'll be continuing with this new format moving forward. So, back to today's topic. What if the discomfort you've been avoiding actually holds the key to unlocking your full potential? What if challenging yourself just a little, just often enough, could help you build confidence, resilience, and a stronger sense of who you really are? Well, it can. And this episode is all about how to make that happen. How to take charge of your personal growth by stepping outside your comfort zone. We're going to be taking a deep dive into why discomfort is actually a good thing. Yes, really. How pushing your limits improves your mental health, and practical ways to challenge yourself so you can grow into the person you're capable of becoming. Because the only way to truly grow is to challenge yourself. Let's first get ourselves on the same page with some definitions, and let's talk about what does taking charge of your growth mean? Alright, so the whole focus of taking charge of your personal growth is about deciding that you're not going to let life just happen to you. Instead, you're going to be an active participant in shaping things so you can become the person you want to become. Really, it's about recognizing that growth doesn't come from staying safe. It requires you to challenge yourself, to face discomfort head-on, and to step beyond what feels comfortable and familiar. If you wait for growth to just magically happen on its own, then you might be waiting a long time, because growth requires you to challenge yourself by taking action and trying new things. Now, that doesn't mean you have to suddenly quit your job, move to a new country, or take up skydiving in order to make any kind of progress, unless, of course, that's what you really want. But it does mean being willing to push yourself beyond what's comfortable so that you can evolve into the best version of yourself possible. On a practical level, taking charge of your personal growth means making a conscious effort to do things that stretch you. That could mean trying something new, facing fears that have held you back, or simply making choices that support the kind of life you want to create, and removing things from your life that detract from the life you want. It's about actively seeking out challenges instead of avoiding them, because that's where real growth happens. Maybe you've always avoided speaking up in meetings because it makes you anxious. So, challenging yourself could mean choosing to contribute just one thought in the next one. Maybe you dream of running a marathon, but you don't even own a pair of trainers. So you start by getting a pair, and then you build on that by jogging for 2 minutes a day. Or maybe you want to develop deeper relationships, but you struggle with vulnerability. So you push yourself to have an honest conversation with someone you trust. These moments of discomfort are exactly where change happens. They're not always fun, and in fact, they can be deeply uncomfortable. But they're the stepping stones to building your confidence, resilience, and self-discovery. So what does it feel like to take charge of your growth? Well, at first, probably a bit terrifying. Pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone can trigger all sorts of self-doubt and second-guessing. Like, what if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if this was all a terrible mistake? What if you can see all of my chins? But if you stick with it, you'll gradually start to realize that you are capable, far more capable than you ever gave yourself credit for. The discomfort fades, and in its place, you find something new. Confidence, strength, the realization that you can indeed handle much more than you thought. And that's when growth stops feeling like something scary and starts feeling like something exciting. Because every time you push your limits, you expand them. From a mental health perspective, taking charge of your personal growth proves to yourself that you're adaptable, resilient, and capable of handling change. That sense of agency, of knowing that you're actively shaping your own evolution as an individual, can really help to reduce anxiety, boost self-esteem, and give you a stronger sense of purpose. Staying in your comfort zone might feel safe, but in the long run, it can actually leave you feeling stuck, unfulfilled, or even more anxious about change. On the other hand, actively focusing on your growth builds confidence and resilience, making you mentally stronger and better equipped to handle life's inevitable challenges. And the best part is that you don't have to do it all at once. Taking charge of your growth isn't about making massive life-altering decisions overnight. It's about consciously taking small, intentional steps that push you just far enough beyond your comfort zone to make a difference. And we'll talk about how to do that shortly. But first, let's talk a bit more about why working on your growth matters. And really, this is all about challenging the very patterns that keep you stuck, especially since many of those patterns can lead to stress, anxiety, burnout, hopelessness, or worse. Basically, this is about remembering that nothing changes if nothing changes. If you want to improve your mental health, then you need to confront the stuff that harms your mental health and do something about it. Or you'll just end up going round and round in circles. When you choose to stay in familiar territory, trying to avoid risk or discomfort, you reinforce the belief that safety equals happiness. But real fulfillment doesn't come from avoiding challenges, it comes from overcoming them. Growth happens when you stretch yourself, when you push past the fear of the unknown and prove to yourself that you're capable of handling so much more than you thought. And that matters for your mental health because stagnation breeds frustration, self-doubt, and even anxiety. When you're not growing, you can start to feel stuck, unmotivated, or like you're just existing rather than truly living. But when you challenge yourself, you can tap into a deep sense of purpose, capability, and resilience. And you shift from a mindset of, I can't do it, to, I can figure this out. And that one simple mindset shift changes absolutely everything. So the reason why this has such a profound impact on your mental health is that confidence and self-trust aren't things you just magically develop. They're built through action. When you avoid discomfort, you reinforce fear and self-doubt. But when you step outside your comfort zone, even in small ways, you build psychological flexibility, the ability to adapt to new situations without feeling overwhelmed. You train your brain to see challenges as opportunities rather than threats, which reduces stress and increases your emotional resilience. Think about the first time you did something that once terrified you. Public speaking, traveling alone, having a difficult conversation with someone. At first, it was probably uncomfortable, but by doing it, you rewired your brain, proving to yourself that you could handle it. That's what growth does. It teaches you over and over again that you are so much stronger than your fears. And beyond all of that, growth adds meaning to your life. It gives you a sense of purpose, direction, and personal agency, all things that are vital for long-term mental well-being. Staying in your comfort zone might feel safe, but in the long run, it can actually lead to more stress. Because avoiding challenges doesn't make them go away, it just makes them feel even bigger when they inevitably appear. All right, so how do you do all that? Well, let's first take a quick break to hear from the brands who help me create this show each week.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot make your email response time faster. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you find space for your 3 desk drinks. Why do you have 3? And while we can't help you find the perfect volume for your presentation video, LinkedIn can help you find the perfect audience for your business. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with no artificial sweeteners and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
It's the Paradise Podcast.
I am your host, Ryan Michelle Bethay, with my husband, Sterling.
What's up?
Join us here on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus, where we'll discuss each episode with the cast and crew of Paradise. I'll be getting all the secrets from Dan Fogelman, James Marsden, Shailene Woodley, Julianne Nicholson, and Sterling Kelby-Brown. Woo! Paradise, the official podcast, is now streaming.
And stream Paradise on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus.
And welcome back. Now let's talk about how to take ownership of your personal growth. All right, let's talk about some practical ways to really focus on your personal growth, starting with reframe discomfort as a positive, not something dangerous. So probably the biggest step in pushing beyond your comfort zone is about changing the way you see discomfort. Most people instinctively avoid situations that make them feel uneasy, assuming that fear or uncertainty means something is wrong. But discomfort isn't a sign that you should stop. It's a sign that you're growing. Your brain is hardwired to resist change because it prefers what's familiar. But the irony of that is that staying too comfortable keeps you stuck. So the key is to start actively seeing discomfort as proof that you're evolving, which shifts your mindset from fear to opportunity. Instead of saying, oh, this feels uncomfortable, I should stop, try saying, this feels uncomfortable because I'm doing something new, and that's a good thing. Each time you do this, it chips away at your preconceived ideas about change and discomfort. Okay, next, remember that nobody cares in the best possible way. One of the biggest reasons that people often stay stuck in their comfort zones is because of fear of judgment. What will people think if I fail? What if I look ridiculous? What if they laugh at me? What if people make fun of my 3 chins? But here's the truth. Nobody really cares. And I really do mean that in the best possible way. The fact is that most people are too busy worrying about themselves to spend too much time thinking about and analyzing what you're doing. You know that moment when you tripped in public and wanted the earth to swallow you whole because you were utterly mortified? Everyone else forgot about that like 10 seconds later. The awkward thing you said in a conversation 2 years ago, the other person doesn't even remember it happened. Once you truly accept that nobody cares as much as you think they do, you free yourself from the fear of judgment. And what about the people who do waste their time judging others? Ask yourself, do I honestly care about the opinions of someone whose biggest hobby is criticizing other people instead of getting a life? If someone is sitting on the sidelines, sneering at others instead of focusing on their own growth, well, they've already lost the game. Forget about them. So stop letting imaginary critics hold you back. Take the risk. Wear the outfit. Post the thing. Try the new skill. Chase the goal. The reality is, most people are too busy overthinking their own lives to notice what you're doing. And those who do notice and who support you, they're your people. So focus on them and, more importantly, on yourself. Okay, next. Learn to sit with your discomfort instead of avoiding it. Most people's instinct when they feel discomfort is to escape it, whether that means avoiding difficult conversations, procrastinating on a big goal, or distracting themselves with social media. But avoidance keeps you stuck. If you want to grow, you need to learn to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. Because when you allow yourself to feel uncomfortable without just reacting, you're training your brain to realize that it's not actually dangerous. Next time you feel uncomfortable, whether it's from fear, awkwardness, uncertainty, or whatever, pause, take a deep breath, remind yourself that it's temporary and that you can handle it, and then figure out how to proceed by looking for solutions. The more you practice tolerating discomfort and accepting it, the more resilient you become. Discomfort is a topic I covered in episode 239, so if this is something you tend to really struggle with, check that out. It's linked in the episode description. Next, do something that scares you just a little every day. Growth is like a muscle. The more you work at it, the stronger it gets. If you want to push beyond your comfort zone, then you need to make it a daily practice. That doesn't mean you have to do something terrifying every single day, so no need to go cliff diving before breakfast. But it does mean regularly challenging yourself in small ways, which trains your brain to see discomfort as normal rather than something to be feared. Try this. Each day, pick one thing that makes you feel slightly uncomfortable and do it. It could be as simple as taking a different way home, ordering something unfamiliar at a cafe, or speaking up in a meeting. Over time, these small challenges will add up to huge growth. Okay, next, set stretch goals that force you to level up. So a great way to push beyond your comfort zone is to set goals that challenge you. Not just easy goals, but ones that require you to stretch yourself. This forces you to expand your capabilities rather than just doing what's comfortable. The trick is to aim for something that's just outside your current abilities. Not so easy that it feels pointless, but not so overwhelming that you give up. For example, if you want to become more confident speaking in public, don't aim to deliver a TED Talk next week. Start by speaking up in a small group setting or with friends. Challenge yourself, but do it in a way that feels achievable so you don't immediately go running for the hills. Next, embrace failure as a learning tool. Look, most people see failure as a sign that they shouldn't have tried in the first place, but failure is proof that you're growing. Why? Because if you never fail, it means you're not challenging yourself enough. Reframing failure as feedback rather than a personal flaw makes it easier to keep trying. You can do this by actively expecting mistakes and choosing to see them as part of the learning process. Next time something doesn't go to plan, instead of thinking, I'm terrible at this, ask yourself, okay, what can I learn from this? Growth is messy, but that's what makes it real. Okay, next, take action before you feel ready. One of the biggest myths about personal growth is that you need to feel confident before you take action. But confidence follows action, not the other way around. Waiting until you feel ready often means that you just might be waiting forever. So the trick is to act before you feel completely prepared. Want to start a business? Take the first step now, even if it's small. Want to get fitter? Go for a short walk today rather than waiting for the perfect time. Obviously, you need to take a balanced approach and calculate the risks before just acting, but don't go so far in the other direction that you never end up doing anything. Growth happens when you do the thing despite the fear, not after the fear magically disappears, because you have more chance of a hat with a rabbit in it spontaneously appearing in front of you right this second than you do of that happening. Alright, next, stop seeking perfection. Perfectionism is just fear dressed up in a fancy outfit. It tells you that you need more experience, more knowledge, or more preparation before you can begin. But that's just not true. Growth happens in the doing, not in the waiting. The sooner you start, the sooner you learn. So give yourself permission to be a beginner, whether it's in a new skill, a new habit, or a new way of thinking. Progress beats perfection, hands down, every time. Okay, next, do the thing you keep avoiding. If there's something you keep putting off because it feels uncomfortable, chances are that that's the thing you probably need to do the most. Maybe it's asking for a raise, having a difficult conversation, or finally starting that creative project. Avoidance might feel good in the short term, but in the long term, it just keeps you stuck. Tackling the thing you fear actually reduces the fear over time. So start by making a list of the things you've been avoiding, then pick one and commit to doing it within the next week and actually do it. The moment you face it, you take its power away. Next, change your daily routine, even in small ways. Your brain craves novelty. So if you're stuck in the same habits and routines, it can be easy to feel like you're not growing. A simple way to push beyond your comfort zone is to change small things in your daily life, because breaking small patterns makes it easier to then break bigger ones. You could take a different route to work, try out a new cafe, wear something different to your usual style, change up your morning routine. Whatever it is, the more you challenge yourself to experience new things, the more adaptable your brain becomes. Okay, next, surprise yourself by doing the opposite. If you always respond to situations in the same way, then you're reinforcing patterns that might not serve you. So shake things up by doing the opposite of what you'd normally do, which forces your brain to think in new ways. If you usually say no to social events, say yes. If you tend to avoid speaking up, say something. If you always take the same approach to work, try a completely different strategy. This is all about trying new things, and you might even discover strengths you never knew you had. Okay, my next tip is apply the rule of 3 for pushing your limits. A simple way to challenge yourself is to follow the rule of 3. Each week, do one thing that scares you a little, one thing that challenges your thinking, and one thing that pushes your physical limits. This helps because it encourages balanced growth, mental, emotional, and physical. Maybe you might choose to have an uncomfortable conversation, which is the emotional. Read a book that challenges your beliefs, which tackles the mental side. And try a new workout or movement, which covers the physical. Over time, these sorts of small DIY challenges build into massive personal transformation and growth without a single self-help guru in sight. Next, ask for feedback even when it's uncomfortable. So a lot of people avoid feedback because it can be uncomfortable to hear. But if you want to grow, then you need to know where you can improve, because getting honest feedback allows you to see blind spots you might not have noticed otherwise. You can do this by actively asking for feedback from people you trust, whether it's about work, communication, personal growth, whatever. Instead of fearing criticism, choose to start seeing it as a valuable insight. Next, take the first step. The single most important thing you can do for your growth is to just start. No more overthinking, no more waiting for the right moment. Just take one step and see what happens, because you'll never know if you never try. Look, when it comes to making the switch to video here on Let's Talk About Mental Health, there are at least 1,001 reasons I can think of not to do it. To put it off until next week or next month or next year. But there's one very good reason to just rip that Band-Aid off and do it now, because it will help me to grow by pushing me out of my comfort zone. The truth is, you will never feel 100% ready to step outside your comfort zone. None of us ever are, and that's fine. Sometimes we just have to summon up all of our courage and take a leap into the unknown, because not doing so keeps you stuck in what if, and that's a surefire way to find yourself consumed by regrets later in life. The simple act of starting creates momentum. So, pick something, anything that challenges you, and take the first step today. Once you're in motion, it's easier to keep going. Because when it comes to taking charge of your growth, what it all boils down to is this. Growth isn't about waiting for the perfect moment, it's about creating it. And that means taking action even when it feels uncomfortable. The more you push your limits, the more capable, confident, and adaptable you become. The truth is, everything you want for yourself exists just beyond the edges of your comfort zone. So you can either stay safe or you can keep on growing, but you can't have it both ways. And besides, I think we all know that safe doesn't always mean fulfilling. The real magic of life happens when you choose to stretch yourself, to challenge your limits, and to prove to yourself over and over again that you're capable of so much more than you thought, because you are. Yes, it might feel uncomfortable at first. Yes, there will inevitably be moments of doubt. But every time you choose to push through and to keep going, you expand what's possible for you in life. The choice is yours, as it is with all things related to your well-being. So, what choice will you make today? Each week I like to finish up by sharing a quote about the week's topic, and I encourage you to take a few moments to really reflect on it and consider what it means to you. This week's quote is by an unknown author, and it is, "Growth is derived from a place of discomfort." Let me repeat that. Growth is derived from a place of discomfort. All right, that's nearly it for this week. What does taking charge of your growth mean to you? Leave me a comment and let's talk. And become a supporter on Patreon for early access to ad-free episodes and exclusive content. It's linked in the episode description. Next week, I'll be talking about how to practice real self-care. That will be out on March the 9th, and I hope you'll join me for it. Thank you very much for joining me today. Look after yourself and make a conscious effort to share positivity and kindness out into the world, because you get back what you put out. Take care and talk to you next time. Let's Talk About Mental Health is an independent program proudly produced by Reconnaissance Media.